second part of the powAkeys Maya tutorial demo video. Let's get back to some basics which I forgot to mention. If you want to select a partial loop, so instead of a full loop like this, you just want to go from here to here. You can just use Ctrl Shift, double click. Okay, that's just basic modeling toolkit behavior, but a very important one. So suppose, for instance, I got this guy over here, and now I want to detach it from this object. Okay, there are the standard Maya procedures, but I've added some scripts that makes this much more productive and much easier. So the first option that you have is to extract these polygons, which would be the same in Modo as hitting Ctrl X and Ctrl V in another object. So just hit N first and then Ctrl V. But that's Modo stuff. So in this case, let's just use Ctrl Shift and E from extract, right? And then you see that a new object is built, and if you select W, you'll be on object selection mode, and the center of the transformation is already centered to the object, so it's a very nice combo. Just use Ctrl Shift E. Okay, so that now you can simply move it. If you need to align it to, for instance, a face, you can use the standard Maya behavior. Just go to move again, and then to settings. Actually, gotta go back here to move. So you can just hit set to face. Okay, so once it's done, you can just go back to object mode and select it and move it along the selection axis that you have just defined it. Okay, so you could just detach it like that. Okay, so when you do that, suppose this is obviously not very practical. I could have just extruded, but suppose you have these separate parts and you need to connect them. Okay, so what do? You just select both objects, make sure you're on object selection mode, select them both, and then use Ctrl Shift G as in group. Okay, you notice that the pivot that's preserved is the one of the first object that you've selected. So if you wanted to keep the original pivot for this guy instead, you just select this first and then select this one and then Ctrl Shift G, and you see it'll just move over here, and you can just get back to world or whatever other axis you want to move along. You could just hold W and select what's the axis mode for the move operation that you want. Okay, so now let's group it back. You see there's no orphan nodes, which is the regular default behavior, unfortunately, in Maya. So in this case, the script that I've tweaked makes this very clean and very easy to understand. So, well, from now on, you'd probably think, okay, now I could just bridge these guys. Well, this might work or not, to be honest, because it really depends on a number of factors. When you don't have any part connecting those two polygon islands, it'll probably not work. So I'll just show you. So let's go to S as in edge and select these two edges here, and let's just take a look if the bridge option is available. It is, so great. If I just use Shift B here, it worked, right? In some circumstances that might not work. Okay, just be aware of that. So in this case, your best bet is just go as light as possible. So avoid trying, for instance, to select the entire edge loop around the hole and the entire loop around the selection object. You see that bridge is not even available. It simply can't, Maya simply can't work this out. Modeling toolkit can't understand how to connect these parts. So just take it easy, just, you know, many times just going like so, and then just the bottom guys like that, and you see that it's available, and then hit Shift B and it works. Okay, just fine. Then hit Q, and let's do it for the other part. Same thing, Shift B, and let's add another division here, just for the fun. And then you just Q and select these two guys. If it's not easy for you to select, just rotate a bit around using Alt, and then it's gonna allow you to select it. Okay, and then I breach these two guys again, this time with no divisions. Okay, and to wrap it all up, let's just do the same here. Shift B, and there you go. So we most probably have a connectivity problem here. Let's check with tilde, and yeah, definitely we do, because we have a point to one side that's not added here. Okay, so there are many ways to deal with that. Probably the easiest one is to just delete this guy. You can use Ctrl X instead of going to the delete key when you want to just get rid of a polygon. Okay, and then you can double click, select all the edges, and hit Shift F to fill the hole. Okay, many times you can just select a single edge and hit Shift F, and it also works, so you don't have to go around and select everything. So after you do that, you can, for instance, just connect these two, so you no longer have a five-sided polygon. Okay, and same here, and there you go. If you want, you can keep playing with this. If I want to turn this into a four-sided triangle, which obviously doesn't exist, but you know, it's a way for you to think about it. So let's just Ctrl Shift, double click here, and Ctrl Shift C, and then slide it. Actually, this is in segments. Let's get back to 1, and then set the slide approximately to the middle, and Alt Q to finalize it. And you see that no longer it's a triangle, so you can keep retopoing it like that. Okay, and fixing these problems as needed. Okay, if you want to move something locally, like for instance, let's just use the tab shortcut and just drag it along. So if you just hold W, for instance, and then hold Control and middle click, you see that there's this push icon. So I'm just moving it along the normals, right? Which is very interesting. It gives some pretty nice effects. And it also works for rotate. So I'm just rotating here, but if I use Control and drag with the middle mouse button, it's going to rotate around its local axis. You can see the coordinate space here changing temporarily. Okay, and you could also use it for scale. So just hold Control and scale. You're gonna see that it's scale in local. It's not that different in the case of scaling, but it's pretty different in terms of rotation, of course, right? So suppose you want to do a shoulder piece instead of simply extruding. You want to actually separate geometry part for a shoulder piece, for instance. So let me undo these operations, and well, let's get another part, no problem. So just suppose I add these guys here. Okay, so instead of using Ctrl Shift E, which extracts, it's like Ctrl X, Ctrl V in other applications. I just duplicate it. Okay, so to duplicate it into a new object, I use Ctrl Shift D, and you see that a new polysurface is generated. If I go to move, you see the pivot point here. I can do the same, just go to settings and set to face, select one face to snap it to it. Okay, get back to object mode. I've just hit X, shortcut for that. And I can just, they're actually overlapping here, so not that easy. I probably have to select it over here. Okay, so I can just move it now along this axis and I have it separate. Okay, and you notice that I haven't deleted the original polygons. I've just extracted a piece from it, right? So I can now simply extrude it using Shift E and, you know, push it upwards or backwards and change the number of divisions, do whatever I want. It's now a separate piece. Okay, and of course I can combine them, but they're now separate polygon islands. Okay, so if now I get out of this and I want to push it around, I can do the same thing we have been doing. I just get back to next mode. Okay, just hit Alt W, and for me to push it around, I can just control middle click drag, okay, to define this better. Okay, if I get back to object mode, just hitting X and select these two guys, and I combine them using Ctrl Shift G. Okay, they're reduced to single objects. And suppose I want to separate these parts because, I don't know, maybe you've imported an OBJ and you want to explode these parts. You can simply hit K. Okay, just hit K and it's gonna explode the parts for you automatically, right? So let's undo this. So if I want to extend an edge, I can simply select it, go to the Move tool, just hit W, making sure you're on modeling toolkit mode, and then as you hold Shift, you move it around, and you're gonna see the extra icon there. This polygon actually is, we're not seeing it because backface rendering is disabled. Okay, so we could just hit Alt 5, yeah, Alt 5 to enable the option to render the back faces. Okay, so very easy to simply extend something, and you can use that also to connect separate parts if bridge insists to fail, which might happen, of course. So another trick is to just make sure to always delete the components before trying to bridge separate parts like that. Okay, so if you just keep the polygons, it might not work. So now you see that it works beautifully. Just select here, Shift B, get back to Q to drop the two, and just select this guy here, Shift F, and I just select this one, Shift F to fill the holes. Okay, so very easy to do. So to wrap up the modeling shortcuts, let's talk about quad draw and surface constraints in detail. So, oh, by the way, forgot to mention, if you just select whatever and just click and hold B, you can define the radius, okay, of the fall off. If you can see here in the modeling toolkit, after you enable move to, for instance, you can see that it shows the soft selection options where you can redefine the curvature of the drop off, but most importantly you can simply hold B and the B letter and click and drag to find the distance of the fall off. So you could make it really close like so, and then hit adjust pivot, Shift D and Ctrl Shift, click to a part here and then move it along, align it as precisely as you want. Okay, and Shift D again, and then as you move it, you can see the effect of the soft selection, right? So very useful to build this kind of shapes, or to smoothly modify whatever you need. So here, for instance, I could just hit W as I hit B and click and drag. I can just define the fall off radius interactively and edit my shape very easily. Okay, to disable it, just hit B again. Okay, it's also very important at times that you can smooth out some areas. So to do that, you can both use the start from a selection. Just make sure I'm on polygon selection mask using Z, and then you use Alt Shift S for to smooth out the polygons that are comprised in this selection. Okay, so very easy and very handy for you to smooth out parts. Alt Shift S, you can do it many times and it's going to relax it for you. Or you could also use the sculpting tools. Just make sure you're on object mode, hitting X with the object selected, hit F3, and you see that the brush shows up, and you can hold B to set the size, and you can double click it to go to settings, the icon here of your selection, where you can pretty much set out the options the regular way. Okay, so you could smooth using Shift, define how much you're gonna smooth it, using the max displacement value, setting this up so it doesn't smooth as much on each stroke. It's recommended for you to use a stylus, a tablet and a stylus in these cases, but yeah, very powerful. And you can also use the new Maya 2014 slide option for you to just move your topology around without or at least changing the minimum possible the actual curvature. Okay, so you can redistribute better your topology. You can also use the relax option, which is not as attemptive to the original shape. Okay, so it's more aimed towards organic sculpturing of your shapes. So getting back to QuadRaw, the thing is that QuadRaw usually want a reference mesh. So suppose we're just building something on top of this object here, whatever it is, maybe a spaceship, I don't know. So you probably want to just select it. I've hit X to go to the object's mask selection mode, and then you can define it as a base, okay, for your QuadRaw operations. To do that, simply hit Alt Y. When you hit Alt Y, you see that transform constraints shows whatever it's selected here as a transform constraint operator, right? So from now on, the QuadRaw is going to create points and everything over this shape. So for you to make sure that you're creating points from scratch, the basic idea is that you don't have anything selected, okay, and then you go to QuadRaw. The shortcut for that is Shift Q, okay. So as you draw points here, as soon as you hit Shift and click, you see that a new poly surface is generated and it's snapping right precisely on top of your shape. Okay, so you can just use middle mouse button to drag these points around, to replace them, to reposition them, I mean, and keep adding points, shift clicking, or just drop a number of points, as many as you want, and just go shift clicking along them. You'll see that if you just hover over the stripe that you've just created, it gives you the option to just shift click again to split them, okay, and it automatically conforms to the shape. So if I just add some extra points, for instance here, let me just make something a bit more crazy so you guys can see the results. Okay, so now you have many more options. So just keep hovering close to each vertex until it shows the exact shape that you want to create. Then simply click and it's precisely snapped right here. So for you to get out of this mode, you can finish the quad draw operation. Before we finish it, let me just talk about some other important shortcuts. You could use the Ctrl Shift left click, and before you even click, you see the size of the stripe that you're gonna create, conforming to the surface. Okay, and if you use the Ctrl Shift and before clicking with the left mouse button, you hold the middle mouse button, you'll be able to scale it interactively, right? So that when you actually start drawing, the shape's a bit wider. So pretty cool. And of course, you can keep using middle mouse button to reshape it, and using Shift to add divisions as needed. Okay. So besides that, you can also use Control middle click to weld vertices or edges completely. Okay, also very handy, and you see that its structure is completely updated when you do that, right? To get out of the quad draw tool, just hit Q and finish the operation. But notice that the transform constraint still persists. For you to disable it temporarily but not lose this reference, there's a pretty handy script here. Just hit Y and you see that it gets back to off, so that for instance, you could take the generated surface and move it around, okay, and then just hit Y again, and it re-enables the constraint for the polysurface. So you could, for instance, get back to quad draw and continue adding cloth parts or armor pieces, whatever you're building on top of your reference mesh. Okay, so it memorizes your your first enabled transform constraint. If you want to change it, pretty easy. Just disable it by hitting Y and select another piece, and then hit Alt Y again. Of course, you need to select the actual object, okay, and not just the shape node. And then you see that it updates, and now Y is toggling this new transform object. So when you go to Shift Q and start adding pieces, it's actually snapping on top of this guy, and you see that a new polysurface is going to be generated here, right? Very easy. I'll just quit it, and we run slide because transform constraint is enabled, so just hit Y again, X to go to object mode, W. If you want to center here, just hit F2, so it centers the pivot, and W world, so it gets back to world, and Alt T to disable the snap constraints, and then Shift E, and then you can extrude it to whatever direction you want. In this case, the normals are flipped, so I can just finish it off using Q, double click it, Control F to flip the normals. Okay, and there you have it, another separate part just built on top of a new reference mesh. So you can keep doing this ad nauseum as much as you want. Okay, so just extrude, and well, you get the idea. I guess that's it for now. There are some other shortcuts which help you with animation, and a pretty nice script for setting tangents automatically and preventing problems with your interpolations is also included. So just check it out in the README TXT. Okay, some more cool stuff there. If you have any doubts or suggestions, feel free to send it to my mail, and I'll write them down definitely, and to make this as fast and easy to work with as humanly possible. Okay, so make sure to enjoy, and yeah, like I said, send me whatever suggestions you want, and we'll keep enhancing the tool. Okay, thank you. See you later. Bye bye.